in the UK government, they're putting a lot of limitations because obviously they need to keep up the economy and the people that are coming in their country. There is many refusals as well in their visa when they want to access the country. You need to leave the country, and if you risk to overstay, you will be deported.
How long does like an appeal process take?
6 to 8 months.
Some have the right to appeal,
Yes.
and some don't have the right to appeal.
The high skill is allowed to call dependents in this country. Medium skill and low skill they're not allowed. People, parents, they can come and visit here. But if they want to come and live with the children, then they need to meet the test of not being capable looking after themselves in the country of origin. There's a lot of information available everywhere around on internet, and there are a lot of misinformation is available as well. You end up losing your dreams.
This is Lyca Extra, the sound for the British Asian generation, a part of the Lyca Radio Network.
You're listening to Lyca Extra, part of the Lyca Radio Network, where we bring you South Asian stories, one conversation at a time. And today I'm joined by Mr. Rakesh Prajapati, a celebrated UK solicitor who specializes in civil litigation, family law, and immigration. He's also the founder of RAKLAW, and his approach is simple. It's all about you, client-centered experience. And today we discuss a topic which is very close to our hearts and homes, immigration. Mr. Rakesh, welcome to Lyca Extra.
Thanks so much for inviting me here. I'm glad to be here and here to speak about immigration law. Thank you so much.
You know, we were having a lot of conversations behind the scenes, and one of the things that we discussed is that with immigration and the stories that we've heard years after years, there is more heartbreak and there's so much more headache than success stories. So I really want to speak about visa refusals. What is that like from your standpoint?
It's just trying to understand the immigration itself. Immigration exists since the civilization exists here. So immigration is a part of civilization. So people keep moving since it exists, though they exist, and now it's become more closed, more controllable by the government. Depends on the government which way they want to go, and they control the immigration that way. So immigration is a part of the civil societies. It's been happening and it's still happening. In terms of, yes, now in the UK government, they're putting a lot of limitations because obviously they need to keep up the economy and the people that are coming in their country. So there is, you can see, there is many refusals as well in their visa when they want to access the country, or they want to remain here in the country, based on as long as you are following the rules and regulation of immigration law, you'll be allowed. If it's not, they can refuse it. Regardless, once your visa refused, you can still appeal the decision. We have judicial system in place, so you can appeal the decision. You can go to the court based on the unfairness that you're feeling therein, only if the appeal rights is allowed on the visa refusal. So yes, we can appeal the decision and we can go to the court and we can ask the judge to fairly decide the decision which you're not feeling is fairly been decided by the government or the Home Office. So yes, we are when visa refused, we can appeal the decision through the appeal process.
Okay, so once your visa is refused, you have ways to obviously come out on the other end, come out successful. But what does that process look like?
Normally, when visa refuse, there are consequences of the refusal. What happen is either you need to leave the country, and if you risk to overstay, you will be deported. So we obviously, if there is appeal right exists, we need to appeal the decision. And when you appeal the decision, there the stage is how you appeal the decision. So we need to lodge the application to the court tribunal, first year tribunal, who normally hearing the immigration appeals. Once you do this appeal lodging, then after we need to exchange the documents between the two parties. One party obviously remains the Home Office, who actually refused the visa, and the second is the applicant himself or herself. So when they exchange this documentations and we give opportunity to the Home Office to overturn the decision, looking at the evidence. If it still maintain the decision, it's gonna go to the third stage, which is to the court play in a court where the judge gonna hear the entire hearing and decide the matter.
So when it goes to the hearing, what exactly happens there?
When this go to the hearing, obviously the applicants and the relevant witnesses needs to be there to testify or to give the evidence in the courtroom. The Home Office always been represented by presenting officer, and the judge will ask the questions, and obviously the presenting officer puts the doubts forward, and then it will be decided fairly by the judge.
You know, whenever someone's in this position, as a community, we're very strong. So you'll always find people asking other people, oh, did this happen to you? If you did, what did you do? What did you do? So there's a lot of advice that we ask from people around us, like our neighbors, our friends, this and that. And everybody says, okay, no, make sure you submit that, make sure you submit that. But obviously, evidence is very critical in this process.
It is.
So I just want to ask you, obviously, how important it is, which we know it is very important, but what is some advice that you would give to someone in this situation to make sure that, have this right and don't ask friends and family for
Of
advice?
course, yes. You've been refused because Home Office never found you that you should be granted the visa or the lack of the evidence. So that this is where the evidence is critical here. Uh, the same decision can be made by judge unless you explore more in evidence that you have otherwise to say. So evidence is critical here. It's important that you have a good lawyers who prepare the case for you, put together, making together all evidences that exist in the case, and witnesses there as well. So and putting it forward before the judge the way it can be. So obviously, the decision can be in your favor or against you, but based on the evidence that's available there. So it's very important that you have been represented throughout the solicitors or lawyers, and you always have the right people around you, and the evidences are there.
That is so true. You always need to make sure you have right people and right advice
Yeah.
around you. Immigration is definitely one of those things that patience is so critical. You have to have patience along with some faith, of course. But how long does like an appeal process take?
It's roughly, if you're talking about this, takes around 6 to 8 weeks based on the court timeline. That's how court busy, and depends on the complexity of the matter. So we here and there we can take around 6 to 8 months for the appeal to be heard.
And once the appeal is successful, what does that look like?
Once the appeal is successful, it's gonna go back to Home Office, where they can challenge the decision to the upper tribunal or accept the first year tribunal decision, and they give a grant to a legal leave to remain in the UK. So this is how it's gonna be.
And what if the appeal is not successful?
Obviously, the way the Home Office can appeal, you can also appeal the decision which you're not happy by the made by the immigration court. So you can appeal the decision to the upper tribunal.
What is the one advice you would give to somebody who is going through an appeal?
Have patience. It's a long way to go. There are many things to prepare. Communicate to your lawyers. Try to see evidences around exist which never been put forward. Make sure you be presented well in a courtroom as well. So these are the important factors to be there.
Now, we discussed with visa refusals that some have the right to appeal
Yes.
and some don't have the right to appeal.
Mm.
So, talk me through that scenario.
There are many cases where you do not have right to appeal, so you cannot go to court. But still, we can challenge the decision based on error of law. That's the law interpreted incorrectly, and that needs to be decided by the court. The process is called judicial review process. For judicial review process, where the decision normally made based on the irrationality of the decision, unreasonable decision, or unlawful decision. One of the area is existing there, and one because if the area is existing here, you need to evaluate the merits of the case, and then after you can apply for the judicial review. But there is a process of judicial review, which is you need to file a pre-action on the CPR rules. That uh, is a part of the process, the legal system. There's under CPR rules, you need to serve the PAP. In short form, it's called PAP. So it's a pre-action protocol in other way. So when you put this forward and giving chance to the other side to review the decision, if it's not, it's gonna go go to the court under judicial review process. So that's the opportunity. The PAP is opportunity for other side to decide the matter or vote on the decision. If it's remained and maintain the decision, then obviously we need to raise a claim before the court, which is going to be upper tribunal court, upper tribunal, and is judicial review needs to be filed in upper tribunal. We need to prepare the grounds, and but it's only based on law. It's not gonna. It cannot be based on the facts. Normally, appeal process is based on the facts, and judicial process is based on law.
I
There
was
are two
about to
different.
ask you, what is the difference between an appeal and judicial review? So that was yeah.
So judicial review is a process when you understand there is error of law or the other side interpreted law incorrectly. This is where the judicial review kick in. Appeal process is the facts not been assessed properly, and therefore the appeal is in place, which normally been heard by the first tier tribunal. Whereas the judicial review is normally going to be heard by upper tribunal, which is senior court.
Now I want to talk about the different kinds of segments or category when it comes to immigration. There is parents, there is spouse, there is. What would you like to talk about that?
Yes, the immigration application, if we're talking about the many kind of application, uh, most of them, they are the parent route application, spouse route application, human rights application, and there are skilled worker application as well. So there are different type of applications. Need to speak to lawyers, get proper legal advice, who can advise you which one is the best suitable for you to make application.
So, talking about skilled worker visa, that is very close to the South Asian community. What is the eligibility requirements for that?
For skilled worker visa, the job needs to be offered at skill level, and the correct salary needs to be placed in. Uh, Also has to be a graduate level job, and the skill work is divided in three different routes, which is higher skill, medium skill, and lower skill. The higher skill is allowed to call dependents in this country. Medium skill and low skill they're not allowed, but there is one exception to the medium skill, which is if you were on a skilled worker route and you want to continue the skilled worker route, then and the new skilled worker route is a medium skilled route, then you can continue with your dependents. That's only happening. That's only exception to the medium skill. So there are the skill different three level skill exist in here.
That's what I was going to ask you. That can partners come, and you answered that. That even
Yeah.
in the three, it depends where you fall.
Yeah. So partners, yeah, partners, children's dependents, they fall in a higher skill level. The medium skill is exceptional only if you were previously been in the skilled worker, which where the partner been allowed, and you are and the new skill is in medium skill code. Then obviously you can continue having a partner there
So,
or dependents.
talking about partners, what sort of relationship and financial requirements are they looking at when you're bringing
If
a partner?
yeah, if you're looking for partner route, which is marriage application normally, then you'll be looking to have 29,000 minimum earning in the UK, which has recently been upgraded. And obviously, you need to have genuine relationship with a partner. The marriage is to exist. The relationships can also be, but it's critical to evaluate the relationship when there's no marriage. So the marriage is needs to exist there, and 29,000 of salary plus there's a English language test which needs to be met as well. So these are the requirements.
Now, say I am a British born boy. I got married. I got married to someone from India, Pakistan, applied for this. She got approved. She's in the country. Now, what is there has to be a financial maintenance requirement.
It is
What does
yes.
that look like, and after how long do you have to go through all this again?
They have the minimum requirement, financial requirement to have a foreign spouse is £29,000 per annum, and that needs to be maintained up until the spouse get ILR here.
Okay.
So it has to be continuously maintained for next
So,
5 years.
God forbid something happens, if somebody loses a job or is in between, there's a gap in their job or something like that, that can really affect the
Of
next
course, yes.
process.
You can still ask Home Office on discretion to continue on there are two different routes. If you're meeting these routes, then obviously they will get you ILR done in next 5 years time. So it's a 5 years route and 10 years route. So if you're not meeting the rules, but the relationship is genuine, and it has to be continued that way. So what they will get new decision which is going to be under 10 years rules. Means the person will get ILR after 10 years,
Mhm.
not in 5 years. So if one of the requirements not been met, then the 5 years route will change to 10 years.
The 29,000, when did that change?
It's 20 in July last year.
July last year. And what was before that?
It was 18,600.
18,600. So it's obviously
Yeah.
gone up.
Because the
Since.
inflation and the costly at the moment, how are we going in? So the cost of rising. This is the reason mainly. That's any spouse coming under 18,600 cannot be maintained. So the Home Office raised the scales to raise the ratio to 29,000 to maintain spouse here without claiming benefits.
I remember it was 16,900 something, then I guess 18,000, and now we're at 29. Certificate of sponsorship, allocation, and assignment. What is that?
There's it allows the UK employer to sponsor the foreigners in the UK, and to sponsor someone foreign national in the UK. The employer needs to issue certificate of sponsorship. In short form, it's called COS. COS.
Okay.
So that needs to be issued to the foreign employee to continue their living here and to work here as well. So this is what the certificate of sponsorship is about.
So that would be what? So what visa is that?
So once they issue this certificate of sponsorship, and then the employee he can go ahead and make a skill work application. So that certificate of sponsorship is required to make a skill work application.
Can this situation be misused in any way?
Not really, because it's made in the way that it cannot misuse or abuse system. If you have, there needs to be genuine vacancy. There needs to be genuine US needs to be issued, and once they issue, the person can apply for skilled worker visa.
So basically, the burden of that falls on the company
Exactly.
that is bringing a foreign worker in.
There is a salary level threshold which needs to be maintained. Depends on the skills.
Yeah.
And we new entrant or not. So obviously it's more in deep. So there needs to be maintained. Job requirement needs to be maintained. It has to be genuineness needs to be maintained. So there are many things needs to be maintained continuously to employee for an employee here in the UK. The burden of this is all lies on a company to maintain the compliance and maintains the HR system in place to regularize those for an employee here, because Home Office can come back to you or the employer anytime asking for all this compliance XYZ whatever it is about to running the foreign employee in the UK. So they can ask you about the attendance, non-attendance, sick pay, sick leave. They can check your whole HR system, how you run your HR system. Is there any mischief there? So there are checks there. The Home Office come and check you.
So is this different from sponsor license?
Sponsor license, so no one is allowed to recruit any foreigners. They need to go through the sponsor license process. So what they do is they apply to Home Office to be licensed to recruit the foreign employee in the UK. That license called sponsor license.
Okay. So the company has to have a sponsor license,
exactly,
and that is when cost comes into.
True. So the company needs to have a sponsor license to recruit foreign employee in the UK, and company can then do through COS, and then once COS get issued, employee needs to apply through the skilled worker visa. So all this process needs to be met.
What happens for some reason if the company there's some kind of non-compliance?
That's the serious issue at the moment, and we are seeing in many companies as well. If there's a non-compliance exists and the home office finds that there is a non-compliance within the home office, within the employer's sponsor license, they will withdraw or they will degrade the sponsor license. It means the current employee who are foreign national there, they all needs to be find new job. The is gonna end up there. The continuous sponsorship gonna end up there, and no, it's affecting all of the people that are working under sponsor license needs to find a new job because everything ends there. So it is very important that the company maintain the sponsor license, get legal advice where they need, and have a robust HR system in place whenever it needs to do for inspection.
That is a huge, huge legal and moral responsibility to
It
have.
is, yeah,
To have.
yeah. So company is going through with this. There are many which the sponsor license been withdrawn, and the employee, not one, all employee which are foreign nationals, they are suffering based on there's no sponsor license. The company cannot sponsoring them further, and those employee either needs to leave the country or find a new sponsor to continue working in the UK.
That is a lot of futures at stake. That is a lot of dreams in stake. Talking about moral responsibility, I want to talk about the parents because that is something, again, very close to South Asian stories and families. And this upbringing that we're brought up with is that we take care of our parents.
Yeah.
And now, parents work really, really hard. I think health and immigration, these are two things that families back home will sell things off, generations of gold and jewelry, and they'll gather money to send their kids into a bright new world, into the UK. And now the child is settled, they're doing well, they've managed to get their partners in, they're having a family, but that moral responsibility still remains to look after the parents.
True.
So what is that journey like for someone?
Uh, there is a parent route available where we can bring the elderly parents to the UK. But the requirement is a critical requirement is very high. The standard is very high. You need to prove that your parents really need you, and your parents cannot maintain themselves in the country of origin, and there's no any other facility exist in the country of origin that they can be continue maintaining themselves, and therefore your needs come in. Just you need to look after your parents, and therefore you're calling your parents here to look after. So
with the parent route, and someone is under costs, and they haven't had the British citizenship, does that make it difficult?
Those parents can come as a visitor to see the
Right.
children because they are running here, they are working. There are two different things here: the people who are settled here and people who are non-settled. Non-settled people, parents, they can come and visit here to them on visitor route. Settled people, their parents can come here as well as a visit on a visitor route. But if they want to come and live with the children, then they need to meet the test of not being capable looking after themselves in the country of origin. So visitor route is available for the parents to visit the children here in the UK. That routes come with 6 months, in 2 years, in 5 years, or 10 years visa route. So they can, if they have a 10 years visa route, visitor visa route, they can come anytime they want. They can go anytime they want. That's a 6 months criteria needs to be met there. But yeah, go for legal advice for that in detail about it.
Definitely go for legal advice, and that is why we have you here. Putting everything together, like I was saying in the beginning of our conversation, that immigration is such a heartfelt journey. You know, people have dreams, people have ambitions, and people just want a bigger future. And the more I see social media, people talking about the UK, and people living here as well, or people who've moved out, they'll always say things like the weather is always grey, and this is happening, and UK is not what it used to be like. Yet, year after year,
Yeah.
we have South Asian families from back home choosing UK as the land where they want to make their futures happen. For those that are coming in, just as someone in the profession who's seen thousands and thousands of cases over the years, if you were to look at a young person or anybody moving to the UK, what mindset advice would you give them?
People always looking for the better life. I initially mentioned that migration is a part of civil society, and the if they are coming here to live in any other country they want to move in, just have a proper legal advice or the guidance there to support them to settle in the country wherever the choice of country wherever they want to go. So it is important to have a proper guidance and advice that exist so they can follow the steps. It's avoid the risk of being oversteer and continue to the dream whatever it is there. So they can achieve it, but it just needs to have a proper stages there, proper guidance available there.
But you know, with the internet now, and there's so much information available out there in the last 20 years than when people had before, people are still making mistakes. People are still like, oh, I'll just do it on my own. People are still listening to friends, families, neighbors, anybody they can, talk to about this very specific situation. So, why do you think people still try to do it on their own? I mean, I would have thought, you know what? This is something I don't know how to do. This is something very important for me and my future and my family's future. I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to go to the right
Yeah,
person.
that's just right. There's a lot of information available everywhere around on internet, and there are a lot of misinformation is available as well. People try to believe in themselves that they can manage, they can do it, and we have no doubt about it. But it probably need a more in detail knowledge about it. So the best, sometimes what happen is everything is not reversible. So once it's done. And then after, when you try to reverse it or make it correct, it's not happening. Or it's very hard or very difficult. We need to put a lot of efforts, money, time just to get things done again. So the best way to deal with this is always have a legal advice or advisor or guidance available before you write guidance. Not that, because there are all misinformation going around here as well.
There's a lot, yes.
Yeah, so I've come up with many clients when I'm seeing the coming from the many social medias apps where
Absolutely.
they have a listen many things and they're telling me the law which never exist. So that's the reason that following that instruction or advice on social media, they can lead themselves to the difficult situation. It's going to be risky. That the risk is that's the it's not going to be reversible after that. So see someone, have a person available who is qualified to do this advice, have a proper guidance in place. The home office is the best source to get a guidance. If you don't understand that, find the relevant people who can understand, who can elaborate, who can interpret the law, and you can have a better way to decide which way we want to go.
I personally, between living in India, United States, and UK, know so many people, know so many stories and heartbreaking stories because visa refusals, the waiting period, it can take a lot of toll mentally and emotionally on people as individuals, as families, And the one thing that was always in common is that they did not get legal advice from an expert, from someone who's in the profession, a lawyer, a solicitor. They decided, I think this is doable. So that is where you come in, and everything that you do, all the stories you've been through.
It's
I'm
true.
sure there's many. I'm sure there's many.
It's true. There are many stories, and some of them we just need to end up saying there's no further way because once it's happened. And we can do with the different court process and different, but it's expensive processes. and they have to understand that once it's done, it's normally done and it's not reversible. So I've seen many clients where uh, the wife said this, why it's happened in the first place. It shouldn't be happening that way just because of the wrong advice. Friends did that, family member did that, or I was informed wrongly. There are many conceptions and many problems available there, but they just need to understand as if you're not satisfied with the one lawyer's advice, get 6 second lawyer's advice. Go for further until you understand the complete process and normalize yourself with understanding. So it's important that's to not go any wrong direction because there's no return there, and you end up losing your dreams, which you had when you come first time in the UK, losing your path, your way, your directions, and you might end up in something which you never expected to be. So it is important to have a understanding from legal experts or someone who is expertise in the particular field.
In short, don't take the law for granted. Don't take it in
Of
your
course not.
hands as
No.
well. Well, this was a great conversation. Like I said in the beginning of the episode, that immigration is a story of our hearts
Yeah.
and our home. And thank you so much for your time today. Now, immigration, it's a wrap for now, but it's a conversation, it's an issue, and it's a topic that we will continue to discuss because immigration is not going anywhere.
Of course, yes. As I said previously, in start of this podcast, as immigration is a part of the civil society and it's going to keep happening regardless how it's changing, which way it's going, but it's going to keep moving on.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you for.
And once again, thank you to Mr. Rakesh Prajapati for joining us on Lyca Extra. All of the details of RAKLAW will be on the episode at the end. And like I said, immigration, a story, a conversation we'll continue to have.
This is Lyca Extra, the sound for the British Asian generation, a part of the Lyca Radio Network.